Hey, good evening. Hope everyone is well. And here is another edition of the live market wrap up today. So um, I'm just going to share my screen quickly so we can get started. I think the day started, should I say, unexpectedly in a because I would call it a follow-up to what we had yesterday. I mean, yesterday we had a gold shake-up or shakedown, if I'm going to call it that. And because yesterday, what happened to gold? There was a huge collapse on gold. I think that was the biggest ever in the last 5 years. We had a bit of a retrace, but yes, collapse just about 4,000, and it's up by a few points. But anyway, so I think yesterday, based on the nerve, today focused on that, and you can see again we had a 1% down today as a result. Again, market is, I mean, still inching on all-time high, so it's not exactly beating that. Um, so yeah, so the Dow, which is a US 30, Dow fell by, I think it's about 300 points today, because there are still some worries about the trade, with China. And then, of course, we had some disappointing earnings. And then, of course, Nasdaq is dragging. Also, one more thing is I kind of feel like this might just be a rotation from what we are looking at. Why? Because for the first time in a while, well, not just the first time, I think this has been happening on. It's been a bit consistent, and BRK is under. Sorry, BRK, Berkshire is Berkshire, not Berkshire. Berkshire is underperforming the S&P. So, normally Berkshire beats S&P, but for a while now, this has been underperforming S&P. So that's that one there. I kind of feel like, even though today is a bit of a chop fest, really, it's down in certain areas, it's up in certain areas. It make me feel, does that mean we're getting into rotation? Because what do I mean by that? We were looking at some stocks in the group, and this is DEC. DEC is, it's a value trade. I don't want to get too much into the fundamentals. And we can see right here, it's been consolidating. We think this is probably right at some point for a move back up. Also, targets is another one, which, speaking of value trade again, similar. So I kind of believe these things are beginning, or the market's beginning to rotate. And another reason why I said that is because before we talk about the baby of the house, which I did talk about yesterday, um, look at what happened today. Boom. All these momos, they were all down aggressively, and they have been coming down for a while. I mean, from the IONQ, RGTI, QBTS, CCCX, LAES, FEIN, so, ACHR. So all these momo names were all down. I mean, this is the next change. They call them the sexy themes, but they were all down today. And even Rocket Lab, look at that. That's crazy in terms of percentage change. So everything was down. Nothing was paired when it comes to the momentum, by the way. We do have some, except if it's earnings related. Just before I go on, Beyond Meat, this is way beyond anyone. It started off over 140%, but how did it close? That was a disaster close, really. So we could say this is a company that's shot, I think it must have gone about since the rotation started into this, and let's just see how much up it's been. Yep, so Beyond Meat made 1,000, I mean, not exactly pinpoint, it's about 1,400% run that Beyond Meat's made. But in that 1,400% run that it made, there was, let's just find a surprising thing there. Yeah, 1,400% run. And then I think they introduced, well, obviously we expected dilution, which happened. And then as a result of that, it collapsed and it lost the entire 1,150% up and it collapsed. Likewise, D-Nuts. I think D-Nuts or Krispy Kremes was almost catching a bid eventually as well. I talked about this yesterday and it's still right there. I think this is now where the crowd are moving to after Beyond Meat. The options here, all of a sudden, I started seeing a spike in the price and the options getting a bit more pricey. People are moving in here. One thing here is the Beyond Meat just wasn't available to shorts. But hey, why not? So talking about quantum, is this just a retrace for another leg up, or is this just or is this the time? We don't know yet. Again, I was looking at GBP USD. So GU, I think UK had an inflation. So I mean, I'm just at the segment here where I talk about I call it the bread and butter. These are the things I tend to do on a regular basis. So GU it wasn't really giving much away, but you can tell there's no strength in GU. And as a result of that, it was UK inflation was still 3.8. Bank of England prefer a 2%, but wasn't presentable, and as a result, it wasn't great. Also, I think the dollar, likewise, or DXY, the dollar itself wasn't actually, yeah, you can see the dollar is being gaining gradually. I know at any instance it gets suppressed. So that's one thing I'm looking at. And look who is here. We're talking about Cocoa. Cocoa did a huge 400 points move. That was an impressive run. Some of us have Cocoa. We've just been in this trade, just there watching it. So is this a dead cat, or is that the new bounce? From I think 6,200, we started doing a pivot. I mean, we've been watching from about 5,900. So we started doing a pivot right here. And finally, another one of them. I know oil has been oversold. I've been talking about this almost every year. It's on a 4-year low, and we got in there, I think, for about 57 for a bounce trade. But again, going by the line, oil is still way, way, way below. So that's another one right there. So this is like daily bread and butter, really. One more thing is Tesla. Tesla had an earnings. IBM had earnings. This is a heavy, heavy market today. I think Netflix had earnings. We had a rock pool yesterday. Tesla had earnings. It wasn't an amazing earnings. One thing that came off is Dan Ives, the chief executive officer, Elon Musk, is promising a future built around AI, humanoid robots, and self-driving technology. I'm just going to share this really. We just shared in the group so people can read this. This is copied from, I believe it's from Bloomberg News. Okay. So self-driving technology points he underlined on Tesla's conference call with investors. So, which I said again, I'm going to talk about the relationship here quickly. GE had an amazing run. So, and I was not expecting Tesla to do well because if you look at GE, the run was based on, gasoline-powered vehicles. Tesla don't do that. So we don't expect the fact people tend to think, oh, G is done well, so Tesla should do what? No, they're not exactly in the same lane. So, and of course, we know Musk has been literally shifting away from what's it called? From the car. He wants now to be known as an AI, as a tech company. So there's uncertainty about the timeline to develop the businesses and the costs associated with developing or with building them out. So that became an issue. And of course, I mean, he wasn't exactly sold off, but I think there's still investors who are very bullish on Tesla, which is an amazing one again. Also IBM, I didn't really get the full gist with IBM. IBM had, I think they had a rock pool as well. I don't know if it's picked up after hours, but after earnings, it wasn't great. It was about 6% down. It kind of looks like things are back on again now with IBM. So yes. And finally, the last question is I mean, I've been looking at this on for a while. Actually, let me just quickly pick it up. So one thing I'm seeing here is everyone has been talking about where is he? Hold on a second. Oh, okay. I can't find it. But anyway, what we're seeing is that we are at an, extreme fear. The markets are in extreme fear. And the question is, are we still in the bull run or are we not? So, if you look at the SPY, the SPY is literally inching all-time high. The Dow Jones all-time high. Yes, we do know that we're gonna get a cautionary. It's just not gonna go in a straight line. And what I expect is we're probably just gonna get some random huge blow off top at some point. Look, even IWM is on an amazing run as well. So speaking of all these things, everything is inching all-time high. Except we get anything from the macros, the market still fairly looks stable. President Trump is working very hard on maintaining well, he's got a tariff on, but trying to strike a deal or inch a deal. I think recently there was a deal made with India, which kind of pushed the price up. He's having a back and forth with Russia. I don't think it's just with Putin. It's not just saber rattling, trying to make sure, look, let's get this deal sorted. Let's keep things going. The world economy needs that. Inflation is still inching at some point, still telling us, look, I'm lurking behind. You've got to get things well. Otherwise, it's going to creep up. But overall, I still think the market is still right on the bull run. It's a chop fest today. But of course, like what I usually say, valuation will eventually matter at some point, but in a bull run, sometimes valuation doesn't matter. Some of these things are well stretched, they're too stretched and they're too far gone. So why not? Why don't they just curtail, throw back, or call back for a little bit before things get moving again? Anyway, we're back on the field again. I think tomorrow we still do have quite a lot of earnings. I mean, I'm just going to quickly share the screen here. This is from Seeking Alpha market data, and you can see this here. Tomorrow is Thursday, we have 134 companies who are giving their earnings, and as you can see them right there. Where is he? Let's just scroll down. Yep. So T-Mobile, Blackstone, Intel. Intel is going to give after hours. Some of them are giving pre-market, but the biggest names here are Intel. Do I expect things to have changed? They've had investment from the government. We've got Ford as well. So there's a lot of people who are looking into Intel earnings. I don't really know how to play that yet. So I'm probably going to see what the momentum looks like, sentiments look like. There's Nokia as well. There's Tractor Supply, and there's just quite a lot of them. Like I said, there's 100 and Hasbro as well. There's 138 companies. So, we'll see how they go tomorrow. And then again, I will be back to give you the market wrap up. But you've got to understand market goes both ways. Some of the quantum, I think like RGT, I've been talking about them for a while. So, which means some of them we were able to go shorts because you've got to be able to make money both ways. Market goes up and it goes down. So one thing you got to know when to get out. One thing I posted today is I've learned a lot more from I've made more money from being able to get out than from overstaying my welcome. Or sometimes one important quote I heard is that I always know where I'm going to get out before I get in. Extremely important. But until that note, I shall see you well tomorrow, and God keep everyone. Have a